Good afternoon and welcome to episode 48 of Those Muckrakers. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
And, God, has it been a doozy of a week?
It's been a more quiet week than usual. That's mostly because the government doesn't exist right now because someone decided to shut it down.
The government shutdown. I did want to ask a question. In the government shutdown, does that mean the Mueller investigation cannot move forward as long as it's shut down?
Fun fact, Mueller's exempt from this shutdown.
Because when I thought about that, I go, ooh, I wonder if that was a sneaky thing where he's like, if I shut down the government, Mueller is the government. The government cannot government me.
You know that meme online of the guy pointing to his head, and it's like the thinky meme?
Yeah.
It's like, can't investigate me if I shut down the government.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's, I have actually seen that meme, but it doesn't work because he is exempt from it. That special exemption was actually written into this because this is a limited government shutdown, meaning not the entire government shutting down.
Oh, that's nice. Are the troops getting paid?
No, not any of the ones here.
So
I think the ones overseas still are, but the ones like the Coast Guard's not. Because I have this right here written down. This is just a note because last podcast we said most likely in 3 hours the government's going to be shutting down,
and they shut it down.
Yeah, they did. Mitch McConnell went home. It was going to happen. So a partial government shutdown where 380,000 federal employees got furloughed and 420,000 essential service employees must work without pay, including 42,000 military personnel and 41,000 people in law enforcement. So, Merry Christmas.
So this is not a good time to break the law because beside the usual stuff going on with police officers, they're not getting paid. Well, I guess federal police officers, I guess local municipalities, their governments are still running. So be wary of the cops that you upset because they might not be getting a paycheck.
So no one's paying them not to whoop your ass with the billy club.
Yeah. Those cameras are going to get shut off.
Yeah, so, another general is leaving.
I thought we were out of generals.
I mean, we're about to be, but in general, we still have a few.
I hate you so much.
Yeah, but so Trump is losing generals left, right, and center. So good thing he bragged about knowing more about ISIS than the generals do, right? Because we're just about to the point where he's going to have to put up or shut up because there aren't going to be any generals left to say any different.
No, he doesn't have to put up anything. He just lies more.
Yeah. That's it. He lies to deflect the lies.
He went. He went to visit the troops for Christmas, and told them they were getting a huge raise, which they're not.
This was interesting because he is, I think, the only president to go this long without going to see the troops. Like Obama did it week one. George W. Bush went to see them constantly. Trump, he stays away from them.
Well, I remember
his first overseas trip was to see some wealthy benefactors.
Well, I remember those weird memes where they're like, "Look how Obama disrespects our troops because he salutes them wrong," and then like there's all those images of his troops in the rain, and Trump's like handing them his umbrella or like has toilet paper stuck on his shoe, or you know what I mean, like.
Yeah. But
taking the I'm surprised there's not a thing where like he's going to get an Air Force One and realizes he doesn't have a belt, so he just takes the Marine's belt, the Marine's pants fall down in the rain, but he still has to stand there.
I could definitely see him doing that.
Right.
So Brett McGurk is the special presidential envoy for the Global Coalition to defeat ISIS at the State Department, and he just quit in light of Trump pulling out of Syria.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I talked about, I was kind of in favor of pulling out of, I'm more in favor of pulling out of Afghanistan and Iraq. Syria, I don't know.
We're staying in Iraq, that's official, but Afghanistan and Syria, it does look like we are going to pull out of it.
Yeah.
And you know how he let the world, the Congress, the United States Congress know that he was going to do this? Same place he let everyone know, on Twitter. Yeah. That's right, he tweeted it, and that, like, they say, that's horrifying to hear that they find out about what Trump's going to do the same way everyone else finds out what he's going to do, and that's he just tweets it out.
Well, remember how I talked about how, like, he could just dissolve Congress and just say that if you're a Democrat, you no longer are electable and only Republicans can stay? I wasn't proved right, but he did tweet out this thing about the government shutdown, that it's mostly Democrats not getting paid. And that's not how a government shutdown works. None of these people get paid. There's no pay attached to political affiliation. Right. And also all of Congress gets paid.
Yeah, all of Congress is exempt, just like Mueller.
Yeah, I don't think Congress should be exempt from a shutdown. And I don't think
I don't think so either. In fact, I think they should have to pay their usual salaries out until it starts back up again.
Yeah, because it's the same with healthcare. They all have wonderful healthcare coverage.
Yeah, government provided, by the way.
Yeah, and then they don't want you. I'm like, why don't we get your healthcare? But yeah, but it's just like a weird. Only the Democrats are not getting paid. But you can just lie more. Just lie. Just keep lying.
Speaking of generals leaving, though, Mattis is actually going to be leaving 2 months ahead of schedule.
Oh, yeah, because so Mattis wrote that very classy sort of passive-aggressive letter about why he was leaving. And I didn't think it, everyone's like, oh, he's throwing shade at Trump. I didn't think it threw that much shade. I thought he was just stating kind of reasons why he's leaving. But I guess somebody got in Trump's ear and was like, oh, can you believe what Mattis said?
So yeah, Trump didn't read the letter. He's borderline illiterate.
So somebody got in his ear and told him like Mattis is dissing you. So instead of like Mattis leaving in February, he's out now. Like Trump's just like, what did he say? He goes like, Obama fired Mattis. I hired him and gave him a chance. Big mistake.
Did he say that?
Yeah, there was a tweet there that was
oh,
his.
I miss hearing about
that.
Yeah,
that was his response. Basically, that was him throwing shade at Mattis about like, I gave him a chance. You know what I mean?
He's trying to say, oh, no, see, I didn't make a mistake. Obama did. I tried to correct Obama's mistake. Sad. Well, Obama is such a terrible president.
There's a really good Cracked article we need to tweet out about, like, the 5 things Trump says the way you should live your life. And it was fascinating because one of them says, never, ever let go of your grudges, ever. And then there was somebody else talking about Trump, and they go, he doesn't sleep very well. He stays up at night plotting, which is why he basically, if a guy screws you, you go back and you screw him 10 times harder. And so, like, that's why he has these weird, vengeful, like, things against people that are no longer relevant to him. Like,
yeah, like when McCain died, he's still trying to fuck over Vietnamese immigrants.
Yeah, because he's trying to screw McCain 10 times harder. It was interesting. They said the reason he hated Obama so much was because at that correspondence dinner where, like, Obama just made fun of him for, like, 2 minutes straight.
Yeah.
I guess
he's so mad about that he's used executive orders to destroy almost everything Obama did in his presidency.
Yeah.
Which has badly hurt the American people, but hey, Trump got his revenge.
But
so
on that,
good job.
on that, like, alone, and that's the problem. Is that's what irritates me about the whole thing. Is like there was a thing they dug up where they talked to the doctor that diagnosed him with bone spurs, so he didn't have to go to Vietnam. And like
that's in the notes this week too.
Yeah, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, Fred asked me to give him bone spurs," and I said he had bone spurs. Why? We all knew that wasn't necessary. Like
it has been revealed that Cadet Bone Spurs never had bone spurs. Trump's dad, Fred Trump, owned the building that the foot doctors worked in, and so they lied so that his son could dodge Vietnam. Now, look, we don't care that he dodged Vietnam. Everyone was dodging Vietnam.
I would have
back
dodged
then.
Vietnam.
What we care about is that he's such a smarmy, lying asshole that he will be a draft dodger, and then he'll make fun of Vietnam veterans and say things like, he's not a hero because he was captured. I like heroes who weren't captured.
Well, I just don't like anybody who likes to play armchair soldier.
That too.
That bothers me.
And he says he knows more than the generals do because he thinks that he invented the sneak attack.
Yeah.
But why do we tell people where we're going to attack? So that civilians can leave and they don't die.
It's the same way
we should just blow the whole thing up.
The same way I get aggravated in my life when I get gaslighted by dumb people. Like, I was at a grocery store once and I was trying to find a colander or a pasta strainer, as it's known.
Could you define gaslighting? Because I hear that used a lot.
Gaslighting basically means when you're lying to somebody but you make them think they're crazy, you know? It would be like if you were in a relationship and the person is abusing you, but then they spin it so that you think maybe you're just crazy, like they never did that, or I never said that, or I never laid a hand on you, and you go, maybe they did,
Maybe they didn't.
Abusers use that a lot, like especially in sexual assault cases where they're like, well, you're crazy, that never happened, you know what I mean? Like, and that's basically what gaslighting is.
Gotcha.
But no, like, and I hate it when dumb people, like, and I didn't know what it was when it happened to me, but I was trying to buy a pasta strainer at a grocery store, and I asked a store employee, I was like, yeah, what aisle would I find the colanders on? And he's like, what's that? And I go, a pasta strainer? What? And I go, it looks like a bowl with a bunch of little holes in it so you can put your pasta in it and drain the water out. And he's like, what? That's not a thing that exists. And I was like, but at that point, even
is he fucking with you, or does he just not know of it?
If you had seen the look on his face, he A, did not know of it, B, thought that I'm just an inventor, I must have just made that up, like I was a crazy person. And I was like, why are you acting as if I'm crazy? You're the one that doesn't know what this thing is, you know?
Wonderful.
And yeah, and he was so smarmy about it. And so I've always hated people like that, because it's like, you're dumb. You don't get to be dumb and smarmy. That's not how that works.
Yeah, and Trump is very much a dumb, smarmy person.
You know, and like gaslighting plays a lot into, like, if you've ever tried to explain white privilege or male privilege to somebody that like doesn't believe in it, and when it clearly exists, or like systematic racism, like, that doesn't happen. That doesn't, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, it's all in your head. You're just crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's ever done this.
The whole "it's all in your head." You know what I mean? Like those people that get shot.
You're imagining it, or it's just we're just talking about a point of view here. Okay.
Yeah, that's classic gaslighting. Yeah. But yeah, this guy has shown what gaslighting can do. Yeah. But yeah, if he didn't like to play fake soldier, I wouldn't care about the Vietnam thing. But it's the fact that like people lost their lives in that war, and here's the thing too. He's rich enough. Had he gone to Vietnam, he would have never seen combat. He would have been in some kind of like stateside military post where he had to do a minimum amount of whatever, kind of like George W. Bush was. He was in the Air National Guard Reserve or whatever, and didn't hear a shot fired in anger. So it's even more cowardly that he didn't want to go, because there's no way he would have seen combat.
Yeah. So Patrick Shanahan is the replacement for Mattis, and he will be starting on January 1st. He's so Trump gave Mattis the boot 2 months early. Mattis said he was going to leave like at the end of February, and Trump said, no, you're gone now. So February 1st, Patrick Shanahan will be replacing him. Now, keep in mind, Mattis is the Secretary of fucking Defense. He is responsible for making sure that, stuff like 9/11 doesn't happen. And so who is Trump replacing him with? He's replacing him with a Boeing executive who has virtually no military experience.
Well, they said that guy got the job because he always tells Trump that he's right.
Yeah, that's all Trump wants. It's just a bunch of yes men.
But I think the problem is, I don't think so. Here the issue is you can't hire CEOs as sycophants for very long, because what's going to happen is if that guy is a CEO of Boeing, one of the biggest corporations in the world, that guy's going to have a specific vision. He's used to being boss. Even if he kind of like toadied his way into this, I feel like he's going to be like Rex Tillerson. You know what I mean? He's a CEO. Mm-hmm. He's going to come in, he's going to do the job for a while, then he's going to realize that like he does not like taking orders from an idiot.
Yeah.
And then he's going to leave.
It's just, I'm hoping that this doesn't create a perfect storm of Trump withdrawing all of our troops from overseas. So now they feel like they've won, right? Because the people in the enemy combatants in Afghanistan were already celebrating that they defeated America because we were drawing out. And so that ups their confidence, gives them a boost of morale. Plus we have shitty people working as the head of our military suddenly, shitty Secretary of Defense that doesn't know what he's doing. And then another 9/11 happens, which by itself is bad. But then on top of that, Trump could use that to double down and say, well, now mother can't remove me because this is a crisis.
Well, because he wants that. He wants to be a wartime president, because he said, there was some quote, and I don't remember it specifically, but basically he said that like he feels like a terrorist attack would really get people behind him.
Well, no shit.
And bring us
because people would be scared, and they'd be like, anyone. Because I remember distinctly how dumb everyone thought George W. Bush was before 9/11. Then nobody talked about him like that for years until we began to realize, oh, no, he is still that guy.
Yeah.
Like the show That's My Bush was on Comedy Central until 9/11 happened. Then it was gone. So we got like 13 actually really funny episodes. Well, I will tell you this. The first 2 episodes are bad, and then like the cat episode and on, it gets good.
It always makes me think
it needed to catch its stride.
It always makes me think about the people, if you look at like whenever we declared war in like World War I or World War II, it was never unanimous. It was always like, there were always like 2 no votes. And I always wonder who the...
And you've always wanted to be one of those no votes.
Absolutely, but I always wonder who the brave person was that went against the whole war fever and goes, I'm voting no.
Do you think that they did that because they really wanted to say no, or they just knew they'd get primaried if they didn't do it?
No, probably because they really wanted to say no, because that would probably, after Pearl Harbor or after the Lusitania exploded, in each one of those,
they knew for certain that voting no.
More than likely, look, if you voted against getting into World War II. Or it might have been there might have been a little more leeway if you voted against entering into World War I, because we were more isolationist. But I feel like voting no on either one of those would probably mean, and I should look that up one day, probably mean that you did not keep your seat during the next re-election.
So speaking of people that work for Trump, did you hear about the Whitaker scandal?
There's something else going on with him. I know he's under active investigation, but what else happened to him?
So remember a while back when particularly Fox was up in arms about Bill Clinton meeting Loretta Lynch on the tarmac while Hillary was being investigated?
Right.
Well, we've talked about that before, about how, that's a perfect way to frame a movie shot that it looks like something seedy's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly, nothing happened. He could have just called her if he wanted to secretly do it. Well, Trump actually has been secretly talking to Whitaker, and that was discovered because they're not super bright.
Yeah.
And he has been talking to him about the Mueller investigation.
Yeah.
The guy who's in charge of Mueller is being spoken to about the investigation by the guy being investigated.
Well, he inadvertently hamstrung himself by getting rid of Jeff Sessions, because the thing about Sessions and the thing about what was his name? Was it Rosenstein?
Rosenstein, yeah.
Is Rosenstein gone?
No, Rosenstein's still here.
Yeah.
He was the one in charge of it because the other guy, Sessions, had
recused himself.
But now Rosenstein is no longer in charge because the new guy won't recuse himself. So the hierarchy steps back up a notch.
The problem with that is that not only was this guy illegitimately appointed, even though he probably would have been easily approved had they put him through the process, he put in a guy who is under active investigation by the Justice Department.
Criminals appointing criminals.
Yeah, but that's actually, I feel like it's a blessing in disguise, because with Sessions, he may have recused himself, but he wasn't, as far as we know, he wasn't under investigation. He was clean. The problem is, you put a guy who's under investigation in,
why did Sessions recuse himself? Like he did speak to the Russians?
Something like that, yeah. But the thing is, the problem is you put a guy in and they already have dirt on him, as in like they're already investigating him. They now control him, because if he tries to do anything, then they pursue their investigation even harder against him.
Yeah.
If he plays ball, maybe they give him some gets, or they give him they give him a lighter sentence, or maybe they don't pursue that investigation as hard. So he put the perfect person to play into the Justice Department's hands, in the place where he wanted somebody to do what he wants. And I think Whitaker's gonna leave. I think he's gonna push Whitaker, and I think the Justice Department is gonna hang the
Whitaker didn't even want this job. He wanted a different job.
Yeah. I think the Justice Department is gonna hang this investigation over his head.
Just like the current what's it called? The Secretary of Staff?
He hasn't recused himself, but I can't see him making any moves against it, because it's kind of like if you're familiar with chess, it's like having your king in check, right?
Yeah.
So Whitaker is in check. If he can't move, because if
anything
he moves,
he does is bad.
The game is over. So he kind of has to just sit, and he basically hired a lame duck attorney general, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not going to help him at all. But it's funny how he's trying. He's trying stuff. So
he's like a guy that he really is his own worst enemy. Remember we talked about at the height of his power, there's so much he could have done, but we're lucky that he's not cagey. You know what I mean?
I meant to read this whenever we were still discussing Mattis, though, that Condoleezza Rice gave a speech explaining how Trump's Syrian policies is in her opinion, the single greatest threat to America at the moment.
I don't know. I
mean, from her point of view, of course, she was part of the administration that wanted the eternal war. But at the same time, it's just interesting seeing the former Republican administration coming out against Trump and saying that he's such a major threat.
The question I have about staying in Syria is, are we staying in it, are we going to mitigate anything at all besides checking Russian expansion? Because we couldn't.
That's a big part of it. I mean, this is sort of a proxy war between America and Russia, so I can see why Trump would want Russia to win.
But we couldn't fix Afghanistan. We couldn't fix Iraq. We're not going to be able to.
Yeah, no, I don't think we can do anything there. Mine and just to be clear, mine and Pete's stance on this is both that we think it's good to pull out of Syria. We just realize that he's not doing it for the most noble of reasons.
The thing to do, what we should have done with Syria, and when we should have done it, and I think when we could have done it with probably China and Russia backing us, was when they first used chemical weapons on their own people. We should have gathered a coalition, and we should have gone in, and we should have nailed Assad to the wall.
That was the famous red line quote by Obama. That's a red line if you use chemicals on your people.
Because that's the thing.
And he was made fun of a lot for that, for not sticking up to his word.
I mean,
because, God forbid a president lie. Imagine if the current Republican president lied.
And
Fox News would be all over.
I guess maybe
him.
the Russian thing, but like as an international community, we should have gone. You're dead, man. Like you're going to be put on trial in The Hague for this. Because it just encourages other people if they can.
I just like this quote from Condi Rice. The departure of Mattis will leave the administration all but devoid of wise, principled leadership with the guts to check a president who consistently places politics and self-interest above national security.
So I'm torn on Mattis because at one hand, the reason that Obama let him go was because he has a vendetta against Iran because they blew, I'm trying to remember what they did. They blew up, not an embassy, but they did something where they killed a bunch of Marines. Yeah. Or something so he's being a Marine general, he's always like had a hard line on Iran to the point where like he wants to go in. Whereas I think that you could probably win Iran over with a softer touch because the
Midas touch.
Well, the reason they are the way they are is because we deposed their democratically elected government, and then they end up with this hard line like super duper like Islamic government in place. Like we did that to them.
Yeah, our bad.
Yeah.
But so there's also a stock market task force, which I think is interesting.
Oh, God. What are they doing?
First of all, I want to say it's fun that Mnuchin is still around because he's one of Trump's original appointees.
So my favorite
it's like
thing...
him, Ben Carson?
Yeah, because he's asleep. He just
hasn't had a chance to do anything to anger Trump because he's asleep all the time.
Because,
and Rick Perry's still around. Did you know that he's still the Secretary of Energy?
I feel like he's probably just out there drilling oil wells in people's backyards and like running over whales and stuff.
It's just so fascinating to see.
That's because right now.
President Apprentice, there's still a few candidates that were never fired.
Well, that's because with the what is Carson the head of the Office of
Housing and Urban Development.
So no one cares about that because it only affects poor people, and no one gives a shit about poor people, sadly. And then the Department of Energy, like just kind of like the Department of the Interior, those are big problems, but like they're secondary to world annihilation.
Mnuchin has... Back to Mnuchin.
Fucking Mnuchin.
He has assembled a plunge protection plan to defend the stock market.
That idiot.
Interesting, the last time this happened, this kind of plan existed, was to bail us out of the Bush recession. The current stock market plunge is not like the recession. It's not going to be that bad. So
here's what they're doing with that, and Mnuchin did nothing. So they're scaring the market to death.
Yeah, they are, because every time Trump tweets, it freaks the market out. But the market is based on confidence more than anything else.
Mnuchin did this brilliant thing the other day. I think we had the worst stock market low on Christmas Eve since the Depression.
Since the Great Depression.
And so Mnuchin called around. He called the head of all the major banks and was just like, "Hey, could you maybe boost the stock market or something?"
So he doesn't know the stock market works.
So this
wonderful.
This freaked out the bankers because like the government's calling the bankers, going, "Hey man, could you go easy?" And then it plunged even harder.
Mm-hmm.
So and then by going, "We need a plunge protection plan," that makes them think that the bottom is going to fall out and it's going to get worse. Like they're slowly eroding any confidence that anybody has in the fucking market. Like. Oh my God, that's like calling customers. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that episode of The Office, but like, that's like calling customers that you undercharge and go, "Hey, I know we gave you this price, but can you give us a little bit more money?"
I've still never seen The Office.
Oh, it's great.
I know I need to. Everyone tells me it's a great show, but
yeah,
I haven't gotten around to it.
That is the single stupidest thing you can do is just call all the banks and go, "Hey, this is Steve Mnuchin."
And the banks are like, "Oh, but we don't have your money. It's in Fred's house. It's in Frank's house."
Don't freak out. But I just wonder, the stock market's fine, but just in case, can you do these things?
You show up to someone's house and you're like shaking and afraid. You're like, "Hey, look, I'm with the FBI, and I don't mean to alarm you, but could you check your closet?"
Yeah.
And they're like, What? They'd fucking bolt if they believed you.
It is the most fucked up version of I lost my train of thought here.
The most fucked up version of Survivor Man.
It's the most
naked
fucked
and
up.
afraid.
It's like the movie The Producers. It's the most fucked up version of The Producers. They stand to make a mint if they can just sink the government.
Now, all we have to do is make a government that fails, and it's so much more profitable that way.
And so then they're freaking out when the stock market doesn't quite crash. They go, "Oh no, we're going to lose it all."
Oh, I don't get it. I even gave them Nazis. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, it really is just like The Producers.
Yep, exactly. You got Nazis. You got bad financial decisions. Yeah.
All right, so I have two more things on my notes. So do you want to start with the That's Cute news or go on to the more dead children news?
Let's do That's Cute first and we'll end on a sad note.
That's Cute news, farmers. So remember how farmers were like super cuckolded hard by Trump's meaningless trade wars, right?
Yeah, they were killing themselves in record numbers.
Well, remember that big bill that he signed that's supposed to give billions in relief for those farmers?
Yes.
That's been put on hold because of the government shutdown.
Oh, and the thing about farming work is there is no you can put this on hold because it's either you get the crops in or you don't. I guess the weather and the planting won't wait.
Right. So as the seasons change, you can't just plant crops late. They die before they produce anything.
Yeah.
So he's really fucking them hard if they can't get started right now or right when they need to.
I wonder if they still think that he's got a plan and they just got to stick with him.
I can't imagine too many of them are still on. Like, once you get directly affected by something, you tend to change your mind about it. And I've seen that with a lot of people in government. Like, what's his name? The evil guy who has a fake heart.
Oh, Cheney.
Dick Cheney used to be hardlined against homosexuality until his daughter came out as being gay. So then he was like, actually, it's okay then.
Well, if you can put a face to it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm pretty sure the farmers would be like, well, I imagine Trump's okay. Wait, he killed all of my crops and now my daughter's starving.
Well, the thing is maybe some of them, but also...
Goddamn Hillary's emails!
Stuff like that also, when you hammer people like that, they tend to dig in harder. You know what I mean? Like,
you think so?
If you look at, I mean,
it's possible. But.
Yeah, if you look at Hitler and what he did with Germany, you know, especially as the war started to turn in Germany,
were in some deep shiza.
Germany is getting pounded. They didn't turn on Hitler; they dug in harder. You know what I mean? To the point where they were kids at the end of it. I was watching a thing on today. Like, there were kids at the end of the war, like in Berlin, that were like anywhere from like 8-year-olds with like bazookas were shooting at Russian tanks, and like they would fight to the last man or the last boy. So even like your city being bombed because your leader is a psychopath, some people will fight to the last man, because think about it, if you've already come this far and you've lost this much, it's even harder to realize everything that you believed was a lie, and that this person was tricking you.
Yeah, I mean, God, I've just never seen... Because I know that a lot of the people in his base are the people that are the most leery of being conned, of being scammed.
Well, I think a lot of his base is turned, but I do think that there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of hardcore people that as they get hammered harder by like his policies they're going to become more fanatical.
Yeah, I mean, because they're getting gaslighted, so they're just convinced, oh no, I'm not crazy, the world's crazy, it's like and Fred's crazy.
Yeah, when the stock market fails and stuff like that, you know, like he blames the Fed.
Right, and they believe him. He's admitted this government shutdown is mine. I'd gladly own it. I'd gladly shut it down. And so the Democrats and the Republicans came together and they passed a spending bill 100-0. Yeah. Right? This is unanimous. They never agree on anything unanimously, but they agreed on this spending bill unanimously. And Trump had told them he's going to sign it, and then they put it on his desk, and he's like, no, I want my wall. And he pushed it away because Fox News and what's the other guy's name? The shouty guy?
Oh, you're talking about Hannity and Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, they told him that he's backing down, and he's like, oh no, the TV hates me now, disaster. And so he decided not to sign it, and now the government shut down. And on top of everything else, so it's clearly him that did it, and they're still trying to make an argument that no, it's the Democrats.
Well, the silver.
Yeah, because people tend... Look, if someone will do everything you ask them to without question, then of course there's not going to be any conflicts. Even ISIS has that mentality of, if everyone would just join us, then, you know, there'll be peace.
Well, the silver lining to all this is...
That's their argument right now with the Democrats. If the Democrats just gave us everything we wanted, then... So it's clearly their problem because they won't give us everything we want.
Well,
that's how they tried to turn it around.
If the Republicans and the Democrats came together, voted 100-0 on something... Maybe this is the start of a beautiful friendship, and maybe the next thing...
There's one other thing they voted 100-0 on that he wouldn't sign.
What's that?
The Russian sanctions.
So there's two things. So maybe the beginning of the beautiful friendship, the next thing they vote 100-0 on is to impeach his ass and kick him out of office.
I think that's going to be 87-13 or something around that ballpark. Because there's certain people who have to vote no on impeachment or they'll get primaried.
Yeah.
So those people will Mitch McConnell will allow them to vote.
But again, though, do you think...
will allow them to vote no, but no one's going to be voting their consciousness. Everyone's going to be voting how Mitch McConnell tells them to.
There was an article that said, though, that he will quit, and he will quit suddenly and with no explanation, probably through a tweet.
You think so?
Well, the way he does things, because he always wants to do what you say that he will never do. He likes to be opposite man. And instead of going through an impeachment thing or any of that other stuff, I really could see him tweeting like, America, I quit. It's the Democrats' fault. Like, I could see that. Like, I could see him leaving.
I was just about to make America great again. All I had to do was sign this bill, but no, it's Democrats.
Because
speaking of him signing, go ahead.
Well, just remember too that like to be removed via impeachment to him would be the ultimate disgrace.
Yeah. Even Nixon bolted right before they went to impeach him.
But
Nixon's a lot smarter than the current president.
Yeah, but the thing is, still though, if he leaves, they can't impeach him, and if he leaves, he can always say that I left. You didn't impeach me. I left because I didn't like it.
Yep.
And I think that may be the last thing he has. It depends on how far gone he is, though.
Maybe.
Because I don't know if we're going to see that, or if we're just going to see, like...
him hunker down. He's like, nothing's happening. There's no trial.
Like,
sad.
Yeah, to see if he's like, I'm not leaving. You'd have to get a SWAT team to get me out, and maybe not even then. I don't know if he'd go that far, because like I said, he always wants to lie and spin everything into a win. So I could see him leaving and going, they didn't impeach me. I left because you know what?
America's great again. Oh, that could be what he does. America, you're great again. You're welcome. I'm out.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, but I just wonder how much pressure it would take to kind of flush him out.
Speaking of him signing stuff, though, did you see the picture he put out to try to show everyone that he's working, he's hard at work, because he had like a stack of papers. He's like, look at all this paperwork I'm doing. And he was like holding up something, reading it, and some people zoomed in to see, okay, this is a blank sheet of paper, right? He's not looking at anything.
Yeah.
Trump has actually admitted under oath that he cannot read without glasses. Right, he can read the teleprompter because it's far away, but he's farsighted, so he can't read up close without glasses on, and so clearly he's not reading anything. So of course there's nothing on the sheet of paper. All the stack of paper is also blank. It's just like whenever during the campaign he had like these folders with nothing in them.
Yeah.
But he just wanted to try and show, look, this. I was like, this is all my taxes. This is all my paperwork.
If I was a president, I would hire.
He puts this stuff up just as a photo op.
I would hire.
And also, someone zoomed in on the newspaper on his desk, and it was because he just. I'm not sure if it was a prop or if he was actually reading it, but it was something that talked about why certain jewels glitter. I don't know. So that's just a fun fact.
Again, if I was a president, the two things I would hire my own. I would call him the head of theatrics, and I would hire a what do you call those people? Not a set dresser, but the person on the film.
Field dresser.
No, the person on the movie that's in charge of
director,
the art.
Oh, the art.
Maybe an art director.
Yeah, just art
or a cinematographer.
Cinematographer sounds
basically,
right.
So every shot of me in like the Oval Office would be something like. It would set it up so like I'm reading an old version of the Constitution, like, oh, hello there, didn't see you. President Peter Van Pelt here, just reading the Constitution, make sure I brush up.
Who was it that would do fireside chats?
Yeah, that was FDR.
You could be just like FDR then.
Yeah, I would dress. I think I would dress as.
Hello there.
I would dress as different presidents.
I didn't see it there across one full wall of my.
For my inauguration, I guess I would dress like I would just dress like presidents throughout the ages. It would be great. They'd be like, "What is he wearing?" Oh, he's wearing the Teddy Roosevelt line. Bully!
Ball!
They would roast me in the media because everything would be like a weird theatrics. Like, I would have my own presidential YouTube channel.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I bet you would get so many subs. It would be so popular. Think of the ratings.
That would be great, yeah.
Your YouTube would be just like Trump's Twitter. Like 90% Russian bots and then 10% people fascinated by the shit show.
The only president I can't dress up as would be Obama.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I guess you can wear his clothes.
Yeah,
do his haircut.
I would wear his clothes and I would talk like him, but I would not go full Jim Crow on that one. I wouldn't even go a little Jim Crow. But I think it would be fun to dress up.
Oh, Lordy.
It would be fun to dress up.
Okay.
You're fucking terrible. It would be fun to dress up like each president for every speech you did. Walk in like Washington with just like a big fluffy wig on. Does he have wooden teeth? Yeah, he's got a set dresser. Everything's period and authentic. He had those clothes handmade by slaves.
He had his teeth removed and replaced with wood.
Did you hear about Washington's teeth, by the way?
No.
They weren't wooden, but a bunch of them were slave teeth.
Oh no!
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
He stole teeth from people.
And he would like buy them, or I guess maybe not buy them and force them to give them his teeth.
Yeah, he just stole teeth from people.
That's America, guys. Our first president had a mouthful of slave teeth.
This is America.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
So what's going on?
Dun, dun, dun.
What's going on in Dead Child news?
Okay, so now we get to the fun part. So, in more dead children news, Trump's policy of kidnapping children and putting them in baby cages.
Oh, I remember this.
Has resulted in the deaths of 2 children this week, a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old. They just got sick and died from the horrific conditions, and one would imagine the stress that comes with getting kidnapped and never knowing if they'll see their parents again. The UN is actually investigating this, by the way.
Yeah, as they should, because this is human rights violations. People have been saying that.
The UN is questioning whether or not the U.S. government intentionally caused the death of these children.
Yeah, these people should be put on trial in The Hague, man. That was like that one 8-year-old that died in custody of dehydration and like a fever, and they were like, well, we didn't know she didn't have. Well, I'm like, you picked a child up in the desert, and your first move isn't to give her some water?
Yeah.
God, they ought to lock you up in the desert and see how you ought to go to Joe Arpaio's dumbass prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like, put you there and see how you like it. But yeah, it's just like...
So that's the most horrific thing that happened this week.
Yeah. I mean, all that needs to stop. Like, there was a great quote by Trump about the whole border thing. And I don't remember the quote, but I remember there were some bits of it where he's like, they don't want to put money towards, border defense because it has a wall, and a wall is necessary. The wall is the best technology. I am the best at technology. I know technology, and I know like
I heard of that quote, yeah. And then people were like showing pictures of all the different ways you can get around walls, pull them down.
Yeah.
And that's funny. The picture of the wall he put up, I was trying to find that during the last podcast, but couldn't find out what they were talking about. But those steel slates, and he had like a zoom in at the top of it that showed that it would be spiked. But you can look at it and see that the zoomed in picture looks nothing like the actual top of it.
Yeah.
So that's just so weird that it looks like something a 10-year-old put together for him. He's like, this looks good, Kevin. I'll put it on Twitter.
Well, he admitted the only reason that like he pushes for the wall is when he wants to get a crowd whipped up. He starts talking about the wall.
So why is he trying to whip up a crowd right now? Like,
because things are going so badly for him, he's trying to like use the wall as a distraction.
That's probably why he finally buckled and decided to go see the troops, just to try and say, see, they're not going to impeach me now. I'm doing something good.
Yeah, like he's a moron. But yeah, so I mean, like, shut down on Christmas.
Yeah, he shut down the government on Christmas, so a lot of people out there are going to be going back to work soon and not getting paid. And a lot of people have already been working without pay on Christmas.
He is definitely Scrooge, but like he'll never learn a lesson.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, the old epic rap battle of history featuring Ebenezer Scrooge is like Ebenezer versus I don't remember who, but in that special, Donald Trump shows up in it as like the Jacob Marley figure. Is that the one that's he's chained up and he's never going to get any better and he wanders off?
Yeah.
So Trump's the one that lets him know you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts tonight. But I mean, even way back before Trump started to run for president, people knew that he was an unredeemably corrupt con man.
Well, you know, did you find out
even
why
the general consciousness understood that?
Did you find out why he wanted to defund Sesame Street?
Why?
Because there was an episode way back in the day where they had a I can't remember his name. It was very similar to Trump, but he was a grouch like Oscar, but he was rich, and he was going to buy up Sesame Street and ruin it. And they stopped him, and it was a direct thing making fun of Trump. So screw them back 10 times harder. He was going to try to defund PBS.
Interesting.
Because they
Did
made
he
fun
succeed,
of him.
or
no?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So I guess to defund it, he would. I mean, because they're publicly funded, so how's he going to stop the public from funding them?
Well, there's government funding for like public broadcasting and stuff like that, and
he just wasn't able to do it.
But yeah, so yeah, screw him back 10 times harder, jerk.
Hopefully, Mueller will be able to screw Trump back 10 times harder.
I don't want anybody to get screwed. I just want justice to be done. And I was reading a thing today, and I was thinking how wonderful it would be to get us where we need to go, about how many amazing things that we still have from the Depression that was built because we invested in infrastructure.
I want to see them bring back that whole, like the program that created the Appalachian Trail. I want to see that again. Well, I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. That would be fun.
That's you had the WPA, like the Works
the beautification.
Yeah, you had the Works Progress Administration. You had the Tennessee Valley Authority. Basically, these these state governments that were employing people for the because you had to put people back to work, and we needed stuff. So like they modernized America, and they also got everybody back to work, and like they got us back on our feet. And we got a lot of infrastructure projects that we really need to move us into the future, and this would be the time to do it. Is to bring back the WPA and all that stuff.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and put people to work.
And while we're talking about the Great Depression, why not go ahead and pass the Second Bill of Rights?
Yeah,
that's what President Peter's going to do with his fireside chats.
Well, I mean, that's what FDR was going to do, but then he had an aneurysm before he could get it passed, and it was the single saddest moment in American history because we may have had a second.
We were so close to everything being so much better.
Because he was such an amazing president. There was no stopping him, man. He was a war president. He got us through World War II. He like got us out of the Depression. Like, man could do anything. He was going to pass the Second Bill of Rights, and he died, and it died with him.
Yeah.
We have nothing to fear but fear itself, and also possibly that I'll die before passing this wonderful bill. But that'll never happen.